on the Black Channel. He's not talking about me. No, I don't really believe that he was talking about me. But just in case you were, the Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, because that's all I need. The Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. No PhDs required. Join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, I gotta tell you, I wasn't gonna say anything. I really wasn't gonna say nothing. I was just gonna leave it alone, to be totally honest with you here, because I gotta tell you, I'm not fully convinced that he was referring to me, and literally everybody and their mama has been, Jason, of course he's talking about you. Because Mark has never struck me as no G like that. You know, Roland's always been sassy and brassy, but Mark has always been the little weak fella hiding out in the corner. So, you know, it just doesn't strike me that he would be that kind of person. It really just doesn't. And my position is his manhood chips ain't stacked up high enough yet for that to be the case. But just in case it is, and just in case, just so I leave no stone unturned, I want to make sure I go ahead and address that, because even if it's not directly focused at me, there certainly is some grist for the mill to go ahead and deal with this. Now, in case you all were unaware here, and shout out to our sister Nicole's View for going ahead and posting this. Oh, Mark Lamont Hill got together with Michael Eric Dyson, and I think they're on the Griot, or they were on the Griot, or whatever in the hell they think they're doing over there. I think that's where they're hanging out at now. And they decided to do a little piece so they could whine about the fact that they are no longer relevant and that nobody really cares what they have to say anymore. And that's literally what they were doing. And they were laying it at the feet of other folks, other individuals. Now, they didn't name anybody from the new Black Media. There's only 3 of us. They didn't name anybody from the new Black Media. However, what he did do was make some inferences. And a lot of people have made hay out of that. So basically, here's what he said.
I am joined by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. He's been talking to us tonight about everything from religion to pop culture. Doc, I got to ask you a little bit about politics as well. We were just talking about the blogosphere and the role of social media. It seems to me that there's a whole universe out there that gets its politics from social media as well. And in that space, people like Candace Owens have become giants. In that space, we see a kind of Black Republican movement. We see folk who don't believe the world is round. I mean, all this stuff operates. I mean, it seems like there's a whole other community of knowledge that didn't exist before. Is it dangerous?
Oh, man, it's dangerous. You've brilliantly summed it up. It's extremely dangerous.
Okay, who are the people who don't believe the earth is round operating in the realm of politics? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Now, you all know I've said since the beginning of time, Michael Eric Dyson, sometimes he can be smart and other times he is just verbose. This guy never says in 2 words what he can say in 20. So just the real problem is you kind of just got to skip past him. You're really just doing it's just really crazy when you get started.
Is that what I was hinting at when I said like the Black Trumpism? I know that's kind of extreme and exaggerated, but it ain't really that exaggerated, because what's happening here is that we're giving up on traditional ways of knowing the world, which were themselves already shot through with all kind of contradictions and problems. But the difference is if you're getting your news from social media. Now, if social media is the delivery mechanism to download the Washington Post or the Nation or the Guardian or whatever progressive or conservative magazine you happen to be reading, that's one thing where they vetted these ideas, where journalists have been journalists and tried to look at trying to be as fair as possible.
Okay, so in other words, if you don't have a subscription or rely on the old media, if you don't rely on the old print and broadcast media, in other words, the places where Michael Eric Dyson gets paid, if you're not supporting or relying on the outlets that pay Michael Eric Dyson, then Michael is telling you that somehow what you're getting is not sufficient if you're not relying on them.
But you ain't got none of that kind of constraint going on in the world of the blogosphere. For instance,
constraint. You don't have any of that type of constraint. What he really means is control. Now, what he's going to do is give an outlandish example from somebody who is not a news outlet, not a newscaster, not a journalist, not an individual who in any way has purported themselves to be a source of reliable news and information or analysis. That's what he does. He says all that and then gives an example of somebody who isn't any part of that nor claim to be.
A Black woman was claiming that a white professor at the University of Idaho, I think it was responsible for the death of those 4 students at the University of Idaho.
Now, he could have chosen any other example possible. He could have chosen any of the clowns that we have set up here and dissected here at the Black Channel and in the New Black Media. He goes and chooses a Black woman. He is choosing a Black woman as his target to say that she was oppressing white men, and to lay this as being, this is the reason why you need to go to all the traditional news outlets that pay Michael Eric Dyson. So did you all get that? He drags a Black woman who's not a member of what we do and holds her up as his whipping post and says she was going after white men.
At the University of Idaho, I think it was responsible in the world of the blogosphere. For instance, a Black woman was claiming that a white professor at the University of Idaho, I think it was responsible for the death of those 4 students at the University of Idaho. And 2 days later, they arrested a young man who was a PhD student in criminology at the University of Washington, not 10 miles from there. Now we don't know. Maybe this blogger has some deep inside knowledge that this professor was involved, but the professor has now sued her, saying you can't just make stuff up in the
You can't just tell people I killed 4 people, right? Like,
okay, but the thing is, she claimed to be a psychic. If this is the same one that they're referring to here, she claimed, that's a great picture, this still picture of Michael Eric Dyson right there, boy, I'm telling you. That picture right there says your whole life, Michael. Bucking eyes, weird and wild looking. So if it's the female we're talking about here, she claimed to be a psychic. She didn't claim that she got information from concrete sources or research. She claimed to be a psychic. And that's the example he wants to drag out. This isn't about whether you're a blogger or not. We're talking about, are you a reliable source of information for politics, for news, for a serious analysis?
But she's doubling down. Oh, I know it. You won't prevail against me. So my point is, yes, it's dangerous. And that is more, that kind of extremes people go, oh, we know about that. But no, it's the same thing. It's the same principle that regulates the distribution of knowledge and the assignment of the priority of what is higher or lower in the hierarchy. So
None of us have ever claimed to be psychics. None of us ever said, tune into the Black Channel because the tarot cards told me that Donald Trump was going to win the election of 2016. I never said that. People, I walked you through practically all 50 states and the outside territories, and I added them up. I gave my analysis and my focus and my observation of the various states and told you which states Donald Trump was going to win, and I specifically named why. At no point did I say that I was getting my information from the Zodiac. At no time did I say that. So no, this isn't even remotely related or similar to what we do. But this is how desperate Michael Eric Dyson is, because the money is running out. That's the real problem. Michael is looking all wild and old right now, and he's talking every type of crazy there is, and he's trying to set off some sort of contagion because the money is running low. That's what him and Lamont are really over here whining about. The money ain't right no more. The money ain't right no more. What he's talking about 10, 15 years ago, they were the only people you could talk to if you wanted to, quote unquote, hear what black folk had to say. They brought these guys on and pretended that they spoke for us. Now that you can bypass them, now that you are able to bypass them, what they see is that the public, the people, have elected different sources to represent their ideas. So he's like, hey man, the money running out. So he brings up some straw woman that is absolutely in no way related or analogous to what we do, and saying some chick claiming to be a psychic is the same as the new black media.
When you're putting up higher stuff, I mean, it used to be it was bad. Oh my God, they're getting their news from Jon Stewart. Now that looks like I wish Jon Stewart was there to give him.
Cronkite. He's like Walter Cronkite now compared to what we're dealing with. Does that frustrate you as an intellectual and as a professor? Because suddenly you're in the same room with someone who doesn't read books. You're in the
read. You can stop without saying
right. Who doesn't read exactly, and so and to the public, there's no difference. So on the one hand, you're put next to someone who might have a PhD, say in finance, or just hypothetically, who doesn't read about black folk, but calls himself a black scholar. You know, we'll call him Boyce, right? And then you got the person who just Googles stuff, right? Then you got the person who just makes stuff up and who's just engaged in kind of demagoguery, right? Then you got the white person pretending to be black on the internet with a fake profile pic. And all these people are in the same room, and y'all are having a debate about whether a vaccine works. You're having a debate about, you know, the origins of civilization. You're having a debate about, God's sake, Willie Lynch, like it's 1992, right? And all this stuff is happening in a...
Okay, let's get it very clear here. There is no debate. We didn't debate Michael Eric Dyson, nor would we ever do so. Now, I'm not sure who he's referring to when he says the white person hiding behind a profile picture. I'm not sure who that is. I don't think Mark is that stupid. I don't think he's that dumb. Could he be that petty and childish? Well, I guess, you know, financial desperation will make you do and say a lot of things. All right, fine. But considering the fact he didn't say anything else, I'm like, you don't strike me as manly enough to convince me that you're talking about me. But let's just go ahead and say that he is. Let's just approach it from that standpoint. Go back and listen to the first thing he said. Boy, some of these pictures they got on here, these guys, boy, I'm telling you, every one of them is meme worthy and poster worthy.
Answer just hypothetically, who doesn't read about black folk but calls himself a black scholar, you know, we'll call him Boyce, right? And then you got the person
read. You can stop without saying
right, who doesn't read exactly. And so and to the public,
no, that's not what I mean.
As a professor, because
it looks like I wish Jon Stewart was there to give him.
Cronkite. He's like Walter Cronkite now compared to what we're dealing with. Does that frustrate you as an intellectual and as a professor?
Okay, so both of these guys are supposed to be academics. You know that. Does that frustrate you as an intellectual? Let's be very, very clear. The black politic is screwed up today because we turned over control from grassroots activists and leaders who put blood and life on the line. People who lived among the people that they were trying to help. We took control away from the Malcolms and the Martins and the Medgars and turned it over to the bell hooks. Individuals who wanted to be celebrities, individuals from academia. You see, white society christened them. They went on a crusade of over 20 years to christen a new group of leaders that come from institutions that they control. Malcolm came from the soil. You couldn't control that. Malcolm came from the soil. You could not control that. Dr. King came from the soil. You could not control that. Medgar Evers came from the soil. You could not control that. Huey Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, Bobby Seale, H. Rap Brown, Fred Hampton, they came from the soil. You could not control that. So there's the real issue that these guys got, is that our leadership came from the soil. These guys got christened by white institutions and white media corporations, and you did not come from the soil. And that's where we got screwed up at, is when we started letting so-called academics start speaking for us. When academics were christened by white institutions to speak for us, the so-called intellectuals. You see, we had to be warned about that. And yes, I'm going to say it. We had to be warned about that all the way back to W.E.B. Du Bois. I said it. W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. We've always had this issue where white society, as you know, with Margaret Sanger and the eugenics movement, they always look for, can we find somebody who we got our hooks in them, but someone who's vetted? That means somebody who came through one of our institutions or comes from that domain or that culture of our institutions. The intellectual. The person who intellectualizes about racism and sees it not just as a color issue, but a class issue. That's how you can sit your big bobbly ass next to Bill Maher and be yucking it up about whether they're racist or not. You see, the intellectuals who get some crumbs flicked off the table by these folks, they can afford to do that kind of forked-tongue talk. Those of us who come from the soil, we can't move like that. We can't move like that. So Mark is starting off on a bad foot. Well, you know, as an intellectual, you intellectuals are the ones who screwed everything up. You intellectuals are the ones who messed everything up. We need intelligence, not intelligentsia. We need intelligence, not intelligentsia. Right now, we just need common sense to go to work. We don't need some bona fide, bone-eating, champagne slurping, cocktail partying, spin dancing, spin meister to come up here and tell all of us that they've intellectualized their way around racism and white supremacy and that they've got some new way of presenting it to us. So no, we've thrown the intellectuals overboard. If you all agree with me tonight, give me the fire emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button. It's over 3,500 of you in here tonight. Give me the fire emoji if you agree with what I'm saying and hit the likes button. Let's let everybody know that you're on board with it. There's over 3,500 people tonight. Stand up. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program here on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat. So Tom Slick, thank you very much. Brenda Starr, I appreciate that. My man Tommy Felix, the best vaccine we all need is a shot of the B1 Media. Unapologetic, uncompromising B1 Truth. Absolutely. Your academics were telling everybody to sit up here and get poked on and whatnot. Now they're all running for cover. I'm going to touch on that before we leave. I'm going to touch on that in a minute here. These guys were telling all of us what we needed to do. Now they're sitting up here saying something totally different now. Everybody wants to run from it. Everybody wants to run from it now. They don't want to stand by their words. Don't worry, we're going to give him a little bit of help standing by it tonight. Not going to be able to run quite as quick or as fast or as hard as you thought you were going to be able to. Now back to Mark Lame Aunt Hill.
Because suddenly you're in the same room with someone who doesn't read books. You're in.
When has Michael Eric Dyson been in the same room with anything other than their boule, bootlick, hand-picked, handkerchief-headed, cocktail party circuit riding Negroes? When's he been in the same room with the people? When has Michael Eric Dyson ever been in the same room with the people? When has he been with the soil? Because so far we've been looking and can't find it. When has Michael Eric Dyson gotten his credentials to be among the soil? Where are the rank and file ordinary black folk that Michael Eric Dyson holds court with? I've been doing it from this microphone for over a decade, going on a decade and a half now. When has Michael Eric Dyson ever done that? They put up walls between themselves and the people. I've made us more accessible than ever. These guys, your intellectuals and academics, they put up walls. I take calls from anybody and everybody who wants to call in every week. These two dumbasses could do so if they wanted to. These guys put up walls between you and them. So that segregation and separation that they instituted, now they're crying and complaining because that they are separated from the people, and those of us who touch and put hands on the people, who speak and converse among the people, now the people, we got the people's ear. They're complaining. Why don't you all just let us have a one-way conversation? Ain't gonna work.
Read. You can stop without saying
right. Who doesn't read? Exactly. And so and to the public, there's no difference. So on the one hand, you're put next to some.
To the public, there is a difference, Mark. He's acting like nobody can see what the difference is. No, the public is tired of you hand-picked political puppets. They know that you are paid operatives and that you will say anything and everything. You'll turn on a dime. Whatever those white folk pay you to say, that's what you say. So no, the public does know the difference.
And so and to the public, there's no difference. So on the one hand, you're put next to someone who might have a PhD, say in finance, or just hypothetically, who doesn't read about black folk, but calls himself a black scholar, we'll call him Boyce, right? And then you got the person who just Googles stuff, right? Then you got the person who just makes stuff up and who's just engaged in kind of demagoguery, right? Then you got the white person pretending to be black on the internet with a fake profile pic. And all these people are in the same room and y'all are having a debate about whether a vaccine works. You're having a debate about, the origins of civilization. You're having a debate about, God's sake, Willie Lynch, like it's 1992, right? And all this stuff is happening in a space and people can't tell the difference between you and them.
You wouldn't be sitting here whining right now if people couldn't tell the difference between the two. Mark Lamont Schill, you would not be sitting here right now complaining if you were so confident that people couldn't make a distinction between the two. If you truly felt that people could not make a distinction between the two, you'd be doing a lot less complaining. Your problem is that people are making a very clear distinction between the two. That's the problem. That's the issue. Now, let me explain to you all where their real consternation is coming from here. I explained this to some of my folks on my other broadcast earlier today. I explained it to them here earlier today. And the issue is, y'all got to understand, there is a difference between being well-known and well-paid. Let's be very clear about that. You all need to understand, there is a difference between being well-known and well-paid. The old media has perfected the art of giving the impression that if you are well-known, you are also well-paid. That's what they've done. They've tried to convince everybody that if you can get on cable TV, it gives the impression that because you're well seen, that you are also well paid. And that's not true. Y'all need to understand, for these cable TV commentator gigs, they don't pay nothing for that. That's not a wealth product. Unless you used to work at the White House, or unless you used to be, an advisor or a former congressman or senator, you don't get paid for that. I mean, you don't get paid no real money for that. Now, but these Negroes got to go get it because there isn't anything else that pays them. Folks, listen to me. This is the boat that folks with PhDs like Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson find themselves in. Listen to me, people. These academics, so-called academics, don't make any money. They don't make no money. People, you don't get rich being an academic of philosophy or liberal arts or social studies. You don't get rich doing that. Show me how a bunch of y'all been to college. How many of your damn professors were millionaires? Some of you were students in the class, and if you got close enough to getting your degree, or if you had a master's degree, you were able to teach the damn classes yourself, and you ain't nothing but a student. Come on now. How many people sit up here and get rich being a college professor? There's a bunch of you who've been to college. How many of your college professors with PhDs were rich, was balling like that? Come on now. Think this over. Think it over. You haven't seen, folks, all the folks who want to be rich, they do what? They go into finance, they go into tech. Who are the people who want to be rich and they go into, who are the people who want to be rich and they go into academia? Come on, man. These folks ain't got no money like that. They got to get in where they fit in. That's what it is. So they got PhDs, but the money ain't right. That's why these cable news gigs are so damn important to them. They'll sit up here and kill all of us over a cable TV news gig because that's what they need. They're trying to parlay these cable news appearances into something else. That's the grift. That's the hustle. If I show up on CNN enough, hopefully I can get paid somewhere else. Correct, Colossus. Dr. John Henry Clark said it also. He's been saying it for years, and he should have known. These folks ain't balling like that. They make their money convincing white people that they represent all of us. That's what they make their money at. Sound familiar? Sound like somebody else we all know? That they make their money convincing white people, now if you pay me, I can convince all these Negroes to do it your way. Hey, Jeff Bezos, if Amazon would throw some money my way, I can make it happen for you. So just understand that's what these folks do. What they do is they go into rooms with white people and say, look, if you want to get that black audience on board, you got to pay me. And so they get on, Bill Maher or CNN or whatever, and then tell you, hey, watch this. What they're upset with all of us over is that we came in and we busted up the hustle. We came in and busted up the hustle. So ever since, these guys have been desperate to try to find a new gig to get. Jason, how you know you right? People, we've been documenting them for years. Question. Do you all remember that both of these guys tried to get their own television shows? Mic drop. Has anybody forgotten about that? Have y'all forgotten that not one, both of these dudes been trying to get a television show, and remember, an actual TV show. Remember, Mark Lamont Hill had was trying to get it was one of those TV shows. I don't know if it was hip hop or Real Housewives or whatever. Remember, Mark Lamont Hill was trying to be a host on that. I think they had Umar Johnson show up trying to counsel the women on what they needed to do. That's Mark Lamont Hill, remember? And that wasn't the only one. Remember, he's tried to get like 2 or 3 shows now? It ain't just one. He's tried to get 2 or 3 shows so far. He stays at it. When you say love and hip hop, Mark Lamont Hill was trying that. That wasn't the only one. I forget the other one, but Mark has tried to hustle his way onto a few shows now. Remember, Michael Eric Dyson was supposed to be getting a show. What was that, on MSNBC? Wasn't he supposed to be part of an ensemble cast of something on MSNBC? Remember, he was supposed to be getting that. Remember, wasn't he supposed to be getting that also? And yet, how did that go? How did that go? Somebody tell me, how'd that work out for him? How'd that work out? Both of these dudes been trying to parlay their PhDs and their appearances on MSNBC and CNN for their own personal gain. They both been trying to get a TV show of their own. Remember back when Obama was leaving office and Michael Eric Dyson, they were basically filtering out all their Negroes, and Michael Eric Dyson thought that when they got all the other folk off the network, they kicked off, what's his name, Melissa Harris Perry with her, Michael Eric Dyson just knew he was up next. He just knew he was up next to get a show. Remember? He just knew he was until he wasn't. You got to understand here, they're mad, and what they're mad about is that I don't have a PhD. I'll tell you all that. Jason Black does not have a PhD. I have debated PhDs on my program. Shout out Sheena Howard. And showed the world in real time that I'm smarter than they are. Folks, a degree does not make you smart. It really, really doesn't. Anyone who's been to college knows you have a bunch of your classmates who got degrees, and you like, this is about the dumbest some bastard over here. Anybody who's been to college, you got classmates who walked across the stage with you to pick up their degree, and you like, Lord, I hope this dumb bastard who took engineering, I hope his ass doesn't design a building I'm ever in. That son of a gun's gonna fall right the hell over. Lord, she's getting a degree in psychology. That heifer needs to be on a couch. She doesn't need to be talking to people on one. She needs to be on the couch her damn self. So come on now. Acting as if a PhD has somehow filtered out the riffraff and the idiots. Hell, David Duke is a doctor now. David Duke has a PhD. David Duke's got one. Richard Spencer has a master's because I interviewed him. He's got a master's I know of. I don't know if he ever went and got his PhD. I know for certain he has a master's. That's what qualifies you. So no, what they're trying to do is a shaming tactic. These people have not gone through academia and been vetted by the powers that be for reliability and all that garbage. So what he's saying is, he put all of that time and effort and work into acquiring a degree, and the general public has shown him we don't give a damn about your degree. You better believe he's salty about that. You better believe both these dudes are salty about that. See, that PhD was supposed to shut down all conversation. That PhD was supposed to be the trump card. You throw it out there on the table, there it is. Trump card. And what they found out is that you have a more intelligent, enlightened, informed population that's asking questions that you didn't really want them to ask. They're asking questions you really didn't want them to ask. And you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to just accept whatever the hell they tell you. But you're asking questions that they didn't expect you to ask. And case in point, talking about people getting degrees. You're talking about people having degrees. And about who people are listening to or not listening to. These folk here understand that. Case in point, if you remember, they bring out their representatives, and we're supposed to all be all impressed over here. And we're not. Come to him in a moment. I posted this up today. You want to talk about vaccines? Well, guess what? Guess what's coming over Reuters? This is not Jason Black. This is coming over Reuters. This is Reuters saying it. That the US FDA and CDC see early signal of the Pfizer COVID shot. It's the updated one. The updated one. They say it links to stroke. This is from Reuters. So it's not a bunch of things we've been saying for years. It's not a bunch of wild-eyed conspiracy theorists. They claim we were all wild-eyed conspiracy theorists. What about now? What about now? Now that it's 2 years later and folks are having sudden cardiac arrest all over the damn place, young people with sudden cardiac arrest all over the damn place, folks are asking more questions, and now they're slowly conceding to exactly what we've been saying the entire time, which is that these things have been put out and are not being properly tested for safety and efficacy. A vaccine that gives you a stroke? What the hell kind of vaccine gives you a stroke? What did you mix this up with, Kool-Aid? What kind of vaccine does that? Well, you see, you got them arguing with people over whether vaccines work or not. No, we're arguing over whether or not a vaccine should give you a stroke or heart inflammation or blood clots or an aneurysm or sudden cardiac arrest. We're questioning whether or not a vaccine should be able to do that. Because we've all known about MMRs for decades. Folks, MMRs would not, those vaccines would not be out here now if we didn't have proof that they didn't sit up here and give you strokes and heart attacks and sudden cardiac arrest. What's so different about this new one? Well, it needed to be hurried up and gotten out there so Anthony Fauci and his friends can get the bag. But they don't want to explain why it is that a vetted, legitimate vaccine should give somebody a stroke or sudden cardiac arrest. They don't want to explain that. So they're upset and mad because, yeah, there are some folks out here who are not going to deny the evidence sitting in front of their eyes. Y'all need to understand something. Mark Lamont Hill does not give a damn who gives the bag as long as you give him the bag. As long as you pay him. Understand something. These are academic mercenaries. I want you all to understand that. These are academic mercenaries. They belong to the highest bidder. Whoever cuts the biggest check, that's the position that they go out and defend. But don't be deceived. These are academic mercenaries. And their issue is that we are neither academics nor mercenaries. We represent the people. We represent the people. So, Mark, you need to spend a lot less time worrying about people's avatars and a lot more time worrying about the fact that you have lost your credibility and influence. And if you think taking shots at us is going to claw it back, go ahead and try that. Roland been doing that for years. And as I played for you all just last month, he's begging people, just literally out there begging, hey, can y'all send me $100,000? Things are going so well that he's got to beg for money. See, the issue is they got all the data, they got all the information, and what's supposed to happen is these elections don't turn on what they say. They get paid by white people by convincing white folk that if you pay us, the elections will turn on what we say. And everybody's got the information now that, it doesn't turn on what Mark Lamont Hill says or Michael Eric Dyson. It doesn't turn on that. Nobody is sitting around waiting for him to give them their information. Nobody's sitting around waiting for them to do that. Nobody's sitting around waiting for Michael Eric Dyson or Mark Lamont Hill to explain to them what needs to be done. Nobody's doing that. And what they understand is that if they cannot convince their white benefactors that they've got the ear of black society and black people in general, then that's it. They're dead ducks. The money is gone. What little money there was, the money is gone. That's it. Mark might want to go see if they're hiring at Five Guys, because the money's going to run out. He can already see if you can't convince these white people that you have sway and influence among black people, and that's the only thing they're going to bring you around for is to talk to black people. If you can't convince them that you have influence among us, that's it. Ain't no money coming your way. Van Jones better enjoy that $100 million because that's the last check he going to get because he has summarily failed to be able to produce any results. He has summarily failed. Completely. Now, I didn't really want to get into this, to be totally honest with you here. I really didn't want to get into this, but I couldn't help but notice. I'm just saying, is it just me? Mark is looking gray and thin. He's not filling out this shirt. I'm not trying to be disparaging or anything, but I hope he's okay. But Mark is looking kind of thin, isn't he? Is it just, he's going all gray like all of a sudden? He's going gray and he's looking thin around the neck. It's I don't know, Mark. You might want to take some time off or something. Something's going on. I don't know. But is it just me? If it's just me, let me know if it's just me. But Mark is looking starting to look kind of scrawny, so Mark, make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can buck dance properly. I don't know. Make sure you're eating right and everything so you can buck dance properly. I wouldn't want you to miss that. But yeah, old Mark is starting to go all gray and looking all like Fred Sanford and just all at once. It's like, whoa, hold on now. Come on now. But definitely, like I say, the academics are in trouble. They're trying their best to be relevant. Old Mark is either stressing or whatever in the world is going on. I don't know what's happening. But they're having a rough time out here right now. Things are not going as easy for them as they thought it was going to be. And I got to tell you guys, it's only going to get rougher from here. It is only going to get rougher. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, drunk Uncle Lightfoot, the Congressional Black Caucus, we got a bunch we're going to cover here tonight, so you all need to stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone, and I mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program here. Big shout out to Iron Man 245 in the super chat. Thank you very much, Joe Hunter, Andre Mobley, ain't seen you in a minute, RCD, and everyone else who has contributed to support the program. Rashawn Graham, thank you. I see all of y'all there in the super chat. Appreciate all of you for doing that. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, this and more. This is The Black Channel.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm a foundational Black American, and I entered the field of IT with the goal of helping the family globally. The industry's been changing, and I've learned a lot. But how did we get here? How do we navigate issues we face in the workplace? How can we get our house in order? Read The Concept and Intricacies of Being Black in IT, now on Amazon, as well as the best-selling Guide to Being Black in IT. Go to beingblackinit.com.
Higher Life Recruiting and Consulting specializes in direct placement. If your company is looking to hire top talent, or you are looking to start a new career, our network of professional recruiters can help. We provide recruiting, LinkedIn lead generation, access to our professional network, paid job postings, interviewing, and more. Check out our specialized services: information technology recruiting, STEM career consulting, sales recruiting, hiring process consulting for your business, resume writing, LinkedIn profile consultation. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and get higher with us.
P23 lines can help you find your flow. Revolutionizing healthcare to self-care. P23, making a healthier
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And we're going to touch on a couple of things here because we want to make sure you remain fully informed about this. And one in particular here, if you want to know the reason why they panicking over there in the old media, it's because some of the shenanigans that used to work don't work anymore. This is a story I posted a couple days ago here. Old drunk Uncle Lightfoot, y'all. Chicago is probably the most corrupt city I've ever been in. I'm not dissing Chicago, you know the rep. And I'm from Louisiana, and I have never been in a city in Louisiana that was so openly, brazenly corrupt as Chicago. Al Capone would fit in today, probably better than he did back in 1920. All he needs to do is start the internet startup and he can get it rolling all over again. But as you can see from the headline, old Uncle Lightfoot is up for a re-election here, I think, in the spring. And the headline, Chicago mayor faces backlash for asking students to work on campaign for credit. Now, listen to what she came up here. This is from The Guardian, Gloria Oladipo. Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot is facing criticism after her office attempted to recruit students with school credit to help with her re-election campaign. Emails encouraging students to volunteer were sent to several Chicago public school teachers' work emails from Megan Crane, who identifies herself as Lightfoot's deputy campaign manager on LinkedIn. According to screenshots that circulated on social media late on Wednesday, Lightfoot's office asked teachers to encourage their students to submit their resumes for an externship program for those, quote, interested in campaign politics and eager to gain experience in the field. Those who joined the externship would be expected to contribute 12 hours a week in exchange for, quote, class credit, WTTW first reported. Now get this next paragraph here. The email further elaborated that Lightfoot's office was seeking, quote now, enthusiastic, curious, and hard-working young people eager to help Mayor Lightfoot win this spring, end quote. That's a quote from the email that they're looking for enthusiastic, curious, and hardworking young people eager to help Mayor Lightfoot win this spring. Man, look here, Chicago ain't even shamed about this. It's just on and going. It's just on and going now. Since then, they claim that, oh, well, they have since rescinded that since they got outed by the media. But this is what the Democrats and Lori Lightfoot are up there doing and whatnot. So no wonder Mark Lamont Schill is feeling the heat right now. They're supposed to be able to pave this kind of thing over and get folks to not care. In the chat room, you're correct. Curious? What you want them to be curious about, Lori? You trying to groom something? You want them to be curious about what exactly? What's there to be curious about in politics, ma'am? What you want to be curious about? Moving along here, last week my man John called in. John is pretty good about calling up to C-SPAN when your black folk get up there doing things they shouldn't be doing. So in any case here, this is one of the representatives from the Congressional Black Caucus, Stephen Horsford of Democrat in Nevada. And he was on C-SPAN, and our man John, he called up and asked him about reparations specifically for the descendants of American slaves. Specifically for descendants of American slaves. Interesting answer, to say the least.
To Temple Hills, Maryland. Good morning to John on the independent line.
Good morning, Representative Horsford. Do you support reparations for black people? I'm talking about descendants of American slavery, not just as a one-off cash payment, but on a continuous basis similar to that of the state of Israel. And the reason why I said specifically for descendants of former slaves is because Elon Musk and Sharice Theron, they can count themselves as African American too. So these people I'm talking about for reparations have a distinct lineage. And do you support reparations for black people, descendants of American slaves, on a continuous basis rather than as a one-off? Continuous like the state of Israel. I'll listen to your answer.
Okay, John.
Thank you, John. It's a very important issue, and the Congressional Black Caucus has taken the position to support a form of reparations. It's being led by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee from.
Okay, now, did you hear that? You see, this is what we face every time. This is what we face. You heard what he said. Absolutely, the position of the Congressional Black Caucus is that we support a form of reparations as promoted by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. You got that? He didn't say he supports reparations. He said we support a form of reparations as presented by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. But Sheila Jackson Lee is not offering reparations. She's offering a reparations study. She's not offering any form of reparations. She's offering a reparations study. But this guy just sat up here big as daylight and tried to give the impression that there's some form of reparations in their quote-unquote study.
And do you support reparations for black people, descendants of American slaves, on a continuous basis rather than as a one-off? Continuous like the state of Israel. I'll listen to your answer.
Okay, John.
Thank you, John. It's a very important issue, and the Congressional Black Caucus has taken the position to support a form of reparations. It's being led by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. There is legislation that was drafted last Congress, and we'll work to advance it this Congress. But I really want to address the context of your question, and that is the historic issues around slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, up to and including mass incarceration.
Now, did you see how he spun off of that? We supported it as presented by Sheila Jackson Lee, and that was presented in the last Congress, so definitely we want to see that promoted again. But I really want to discuss. Now, did you see how he spun off of that?
To support a form of reparations. It's being led by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. There is legislation that was drafted last Congress and will work to advance it this Congress. But I really want to address the context of your question, and that is the historic issues around slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, up to and including mass incarceration of Black people even today. I was recently in Montgomery, Alabama, meeting with Brian Stevenson at the Legacy Museum there, and to really fully appreciate the impact that slavery played in our country and how it literally took away Black wealth. And many of the major corporations that exist today, from insurance to railroads to healthcare, profited because of slavery that existed. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I didn't participate in that. I didn't do that. So why am I going to be held accountable for it? It's not about that. It's about acknowledging the wrong, ensuring that it never happens again, and investing in the communities, particularly Black communities, that never were able to realize their full potential because of the stain of slavery that was
but on a continuing the state of Israel,
people even today. I was recently in the context of your question, and that is the historic issues around slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, up to and including mass incarceration of Black people even today.
People, do you realize the answer that he gave? In the chat room, you said his mom is from Trinidad. I think that's worth investigating if Representative Hartsford's folks are from the Caribbean. Did you hear that last part? Because you got to understand, these folks are now ready. Ever since we went in on James Clyburn and we crashed the fish fry, ever since we did that, they are on super high alert. You see, old Mark Lamont Schill couldn't prevent that from happening. They are on super high alert now that they understand everywhere they go, if there's an open microphone, somebody is asking about reparations, and specifically for the descendants of American slaves, they're asking about reparations specifically for us. So what they've all done now is they've got that sentence that we all knew was coming, which means that whenever you talk to these folks, everybody listen to me, you have to update your phraseology. You know they're going to try to say HR 40. What you need to say is, do you support reparations for the descendants of American slaves? And not that phony HR 40, because that's a study. We don't want a study of reparations. There's nothing to study. Do you support reparations, not a study for reparations? You all need to, everybody needs to know, hey, everybody's got to get on code about this. You already know they're going to try to say HR 40. Cut them off at the pass. Not, you let them know, not HR 40, because we know that's bogus. That's just a study of reparations. We want a reparations, not a, do you support reparations, not a study. Not a study. Now, the other thing is, you heard what he said about how these things affect Black Americans.
From Texas, there is legislation that was drafted last mass incarceration of Black people even today.
Mass incarceration of Black people even today. No, he was not asked about Black people. So, you know, if he specifically spun off of what was originally said and then leads you off into something that culminates in, well, all these things affect Black people. He's trying to set the groundwork. Recognize what's going on there. He's trying to set the groundwork for this is bigger than the descendants of slaves. Just recognize that he's already doing it. He's already moving into position to make that the argument, to make that what he's focusing on. That's what he's trying to do. Let's go ahead and focus on that instead. Let's talk about that instead, because you see, that goes from, what will happen is that will morph from being just a incidental comment that he makes along the way to when they get on the floor of legislation and start discussing it, then all of a sudden that becomes back. You start hearing that black people, black people, black people, black people again. You start hearing that again. That's something I want you all to start recognizing and seeing. We can no longer just get in and ask questions. We got to be preemptive. We have to be preemptive. You already know they're going to try to pivot to that phony, bogus ass HR 40. You need to let them know. We know HR 40 is bogus. We know that's just a study of reparations. That is not reparations. When are you going to support reparations, not a study of it? Because you didn't need to study the Ukraine. You didn't need to study the Afghans. You didn't need to study the illegals from Mexico. You didn't have to study any of them. When are you going to stop with this bogus HR 40 study and get to reparations? At this point right now, you all should have it down pat. So if you're going to get into these places going forward, the format is cut them off at the pass. You know they're going to try to go to HR 40, call them out before they can even say it and say, no, not HR 40. We know that's a con job you all keep throwing out there to deflect. We're not going for it. We're not going for it. Be on top of that. That's where everybody needs to be, and everybody needs to be on code about that going forward. We're not falling for anything else. You see, that's what's upsetting the academics of the old black media, you see, because they don't want reparations. Most of them don't qualify for it. But furthermore, they don't want reparations for the masses. You see, those are the hand-picked Negroes. They've been living large and eating fat off the land. They don't want us as a group being elevated, because they take a look at how their power and influence has been severely diluted, and that's before we got anything. Can you imagine what happens if a full package is sent out? So their job is to distract us and tell us we don't need anything. That's why they get paid. You see, if they were actually in favor of reparations, they wouldn't let them on TV in the first damn place. Byron Allen doesn't want to see us get reparations. I'll be damned. He realizes. Do you realize how much these folks could fund their own media? There'll be more individuals with their own capital to go after this thing and won't need your help. Byron goes from running the yard to being just another voice among many. He ain't trying to have that. He tried to co-opt the internet to sit up here and promote his business interests, and for Mushmouth and Square Jaw, it worked. But now that they've fizzled out, for the grassroots is back to business. And these other folks don't have a say. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the black media. It is what it is, and we are who we are. Shout out to Tommy Felix there in the super chat. Thank you very much for your support, brother. We appreciate that. And I want you all to go ahead and give us a call on this. Tonight we're talking about the old media, the old academics being irrelevant. They are screaming and crying and squealing. And this is another reason why you have to have a competent operative class, as Professor Black Truth has talked about for years. You have to have a competent operative class. Because the reason why they're suffering the losses they are right now is because their operative class is incompetent. You're academics, you're literate, you got PhDs, and you are incompetent. You can't get the job done. You don't actually have the ability to make any wins. So yes, you got all your PhDs and all your learning and all your academic achievement, and it doesn't matter because you are summarily incompetent. You have lost the ear of the people. You do not represent the interests of the people, and you have failed at your primary task, which was to deceive the people on a continual, perpetual basis. You failed at that. You are an incompetent operative class. You can't win anymore. You can't get any more wins. You've been trying. You reworked the formula. But now it's years and years later and you're getting taken to the woodshed. And the folk who've been paying you are saying, you're supposed to be delivering more than just damn me talk. So they're letting them know. Understand, folks, this is how you know they are scared. They went from talking about politicians to talking about us. They're letting you know where the real threat is. You remember, I told you all a decade ago, if you are waiting for CNN or MSNBC to sit up here and make a headline, if you're expecting them to sit up here and make a headline, or if you're expecting them to declare that everything is everything, if you're expecting for that to happen, you're going to be waiting forever. They're never going to do that. I told you all that what we needed was to have a competent class of people here who can take a look at these things, listen, identify it, and we'll tell you when we're winning. And I told you about 5 or 6 years ago, hey, the tide has turned, things have changed. And there were folks who were denying it and wondering and saying, I don't know, Jason, you might just be this, that, and the other. And we've been able to show you record after record, instance after instance, time after time. The national vocabulary is no longer about praying and PhDs. It's no longer about prayer and PhDs. You see, a lot of folk have retained a lot of control over black society by telling us the only thing we have to trade on is prayer and PhDs. That's what we need to be focused on, is praying and PhDs. And now that we're saying, no, we're going to do something different. We're going to do something different. See, it's a brand new day for them, and they don't know what to do about that now because they haven't had time to adjust. You see, while they really thought that black society was going to be controlled from CNN, that's what they really thought was going to happen. They really thought that black people were just going to perpetually take their cues from CNN, and what was supposed to happen. I want you all to understand how media conglomerates and media influence works. What was supposed to happen is CNN or MSNBC or whatever, they were supposed to be like the major leagues, and the Griot and the Root and Ebony and Jet, those were supposed to be the minor leagues. That's what they were supposed to be. They were supposed to be the minor leagues. They're supposed to be semi-pro. So what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to cut your teeth at the black publications, the black websites, and some of them might get their weight up enough that they do some video broadcasting. So you were supposed to just demonstrate there that you knew how to toe the company line and you knew how to promote their agenda. Now, notice what I didn't say. This is critical and key. Notice I didn't say that you know how to grow an audience. Did you notice I didn't say that? Jamel Hill doesn't know how to grow an audience. She knows how to carry the water. She knows how to promote their public line. She knows how to do that, but she doesn't know how to grow an audience. Neither does Jamila Lemieux. Neither does Michael Eric Dyson. Neither do any of the rest of them. They don't know how to grow an audience. So what would they be doing at these black websites? They would be demonstrating their competence and their ability to parrot the message of the day and to repeat whatever their agenda is. And if you show that you're competent at it, then you might be able to audition for some sort of commentator job. And that was what it was supposed to always be. At best, the Griot or the Root would be acquired. If y'all really did a good job, you might be able to get acquired by one of these major outlets. And the problem that they have is that didn't work. Going to go ahead and take some phone calls here. Let me get caller from area code 850. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, yeah, this is Keith from Panama City, Florida.
All right, G,
How you
Panama
doing?
City, what's on your mind?
Long-time listener, long-time believer. I got a question for you. This is just as frustrating to me as it is to you. But where do we go from here? Do we publicly put these people out the way, or?
Oh, I'm not frustrated.
I mean, how?
Well, let me be clear about one thing, brother. I'm not.
I am. I mean, I'm not frustrated
you
because
shouldn't
I'm
be.
tired of them coming out doing this.
No, you shouldn't be, brother. Look here. Here's the bottom line. They're swinging up. I want you all to understand something. Read what he's saying. What he said. He literally just said that they can't tell the difference between Michael Eric Dyson and us. That the general public can't. That's not what he means. What he means is that when Michael Eric Dyson speaks, the general population is just supposed to say yes, a boss, and bow. So when he says that they're not able to make a distinction, he's saying the public is not giving deference. They're not giving deference. He is admitting that Michael Eric Dyson is no more powerful. That's what he means by they don't see a difference. Can't they see that you're different, Michael? Can't they see that you're supposed to be the voice? Can't they see that you're supposed to be the smartest person in the room? But they don't acknowledge you. They consider you to be peers with this Jason Black guy. That's never supposed to be said. Those words are never supposed to be stated, which is why he didn't say anything like that, which is why I'm saying he might not have been me. But just in case he did, what he's saying is they're not supposed to be any difference. So what he's saying is that this is it. This is the critical moment where he acknowledges that we are peers, that they are not in the driver's seat. So, brother, what I'm saying is don't be frustrated. I said this starting 6 years ago. Recognize what winning looks like. I'm not saying this because it sounds cute or funny. I call it like it is. You know my pedigree. I call it like it is. If things were going well, I'd be telling you it's going well. If it's going bad, I'm going to tell you it's going bad. I'm not going to tell you that this is what winning looks like if this is not what winning looks like. He's literally saying that the general public isn't giving Michael Eric Dyson the benefit of the doubt, and they're not giving him any more credibility than they're giving us. They're giving us equal credibility. Was that the case 7 years ago? I'm asking you.
No, of course not. Understood. So, I'm just saying that looking at this, I'm getting tired of looking at them getting on there doing that. Me as a person. Because we know,
you need a barometer.
People that think like myself and yourself, we getting tired of y'all. It's becoming to the point where he said when the merry-go-round, no, this is a one-way ticket, punk.
Well, just understand. You gotta know when you're winning, because the real thing is we need them as a barometer. The worst thing would be if they were quiet, because that's what they were doing 7 years ago. They were quiet. Problem: our numbers blew up too big. Amazon bestsellers, sold out theaters, public events, national politicians, Twitter tags. The national conversation, the narrative changed. Then if you messed around and held a public meeting, folks were coming in there saying what we were saying. I said this going on a decade ago, and now you're seeing the final results come in. There are no young black people saying, I want to be Michael Eric Dyson when I grow up. There are no young black people 10 years ago or today saying, I wish I could be Mark Lamont Hill when I grow up. Nobody said they want to be Roland Martin when they grow up. And what I'm telling you is that when that's the situation, you have lost the future. I wasn't playing the game of trying to convert the little old church ladies 10 years ago. I talk with the young. I speak with the young today. When Black Lives Matter kicked off, I was with the young. When Trayvon Martin kicked off, I was with the young. When George Floyd kicked off, I was with the young, 10 toes down, and will remain there. It's going to be hard for you to get me to sit up here and go against millennials and Gen Z. It's going to be hard to get me to go ahead and do that, because I understand where they're coming from, and they've been in the streets making it happen. It's been the old folks trying to figure out if they can negotiate a deal. It's been the young out here putting in all the work. And we have focused on the young. That's why the young call us, the young talk to us. Ain't no young folk trying to talk to Michael Eric Dyson. Ain't no young people trying to talk to Mark Lamont Schill. They don't have any vocabulary or language with them. So yes, us demagogues and vulgar individuals on the internet, we talk to the young. See, the young can talk to us. Michael Eric Dyson is way over their damn heads. And furthermore, he's refusing to address their issues. When they come here, we get straight to it. Not some high-minded thesaurus browsing language. We get straight to the damn point. When I had soldiers getting locked up and they was in jail, I sent bail money. Where was Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson when the soldiers were in the streets and they needed to be bonded out? Where was them niggas at? See, the streets remember. I've done all my work and I focused all my energy on the street. The street remembers. The street remembers when the fires were burning. Jason Black's only argument was, if you get locked up, call me. And I had a bunch of folk here, Unique Glam and other folks, volunteering wherever they were. We got black bondsmen. In the different cities, we tried to find black bondsmen and try to find out where these folk were locked up at, and let's get them out. Let's get them out. To the point that prosecutors were dropping charges all over the damn place. They said, damn y'all about that life. Where was Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson when that was going on? The streets remember.
I'm glad you met.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 845. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, brother. My name is Barshawn, and I'm calling from Wassaic, New York, the home of where the NAACP was founded.
All right, brother, what's on your mind?
With that said, I'd like to know, besides spiritually and financially, what other ways can you be supported? And the reason I ask that is because I just started listening to you about 4 months ago, and I'm still trying to catch up on some of the back shows. And what you're doing is not being, it doesn't exist anymore. It definitely, radios like WBAI used to have a little something, but they are watered down now. You're the only show, one of the only shows that I've heard do something like this, and I know they're going to work hard to make it disappear. So I'm asking, other than financially and morally, what other ways can you be supported?
Okay.
That,
well,
people like myself could.
First of all, financially is a good start. However, the other thing is you yourself. We don't need just one Jason Black. We need millions of them. But they hate you because you're black, but they can victimize you because you're poor. So if your finances aren't together, if your credit score is not together, if your finances are in a shambles, if you are disorganized, remember you're one cell in the entire body of the black politic. You're a cell. And a body that's made up of weak cells is going to be a weak body. So on top of all the rest of that, when you get done serving your time over here and whatnot and doing what you can over here, you got to be on top of it for yourself. Because I can't be everywhere. Every time one of my films comes out, people love it and things like that. But it invariably happens where somebody will say, I talk about events in one city or events in another city. And invariably what they will say is, well, he talked about this, but he didn't talk about this other thing over here. And that's not the point. The point is my job is to do what I can from 30,000 feet. Those of you who live in these other places, you pick up the ball from there and you run with it. I help get the momentum started, and then somebody else picks it up and runs with it. You see, I didn't ask Dr. John Henry Clark what I can do for him. I got to work. I didn't ask Dr. Claude Anderson. I got to work. I got to work. So what I would say to everybody, and I didn't do it from a position of weakness, so what I would say is, what else can you do? Brother, your daily life needs to be an exercise in empowerment. Your income needs to double every 24 to 36 months. If you are broke, you can't help the rest of us. If you're financially strapped, you can't help the rest of us. If you're struggling, you can't help us. So on top of everything else, making sure you are as strong and capable as you can be. That is the single most important thing you can do. Because if you strong and I'm strong, then we strong, and everything comes together from there. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. It sounds like, is it that easy? But then again, if people aren't doing it, clearly it's not that easy. Caller from area code 404. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Man, what's going on, Jason Black? It's Leroy.
Okay, Leroy from where?
Atlanta.
Leroy from Atlanta. What's on your mind?
Man, I got to correct you, man. You're not peers with Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson. Them dudes so far off the mark, like you said, ain't nobody listening to them. And it ain't just young people who ignoring their ass. People in my age group are ignoring them. Because man, look, when he said y'all don't read books and he coming all out his mouth sideways at people that tie him, and you been here local in Atlanta, you probably heard of Rashad Ritchie. I personally have tied him in knots every time. And I ain't graduate from college. So it ain't what you get in the books and you get that paper and you walk across the stage and, it's what you really know.
Yeah, I mean, what most of you have figured out is that most of these so-called academics are incompetent. They got a degree, but they're not competent. We used to have brilliant people. These folks are not brilliant. Mark Lamont Hill is not brilliant. It's very clear he's rummaged a bunch of information, but he's not brilliant. Thank you very much for giving us a call. These guys are not brilliant, and people recognize this. That's why they want to go on TV, because they're hoping that showing up on CNN or MSNBC will overpower the fact of all the other things they're not. You're getting your ass handed to you by people on YouTube. That's proof positive that you are incompetent. You got multi-billion-dollar corporations got your back, and yet you're getting your ass handed to you by folks on YouTube. That's what incompetence does. Caller from area code 706. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, brother, this is Bomani calling from Augusta, Georgia.
All right, Bomani from Augusta. What's on your mind?
I'm listening to the podcast. I'm loving the podcast. And I identify exactly with what you're saying. It kind of reminds me of Carter G. Woodson in the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, where he says, when you learn from the land, just live it. You don't necessarily have to have that college education to know how to get it from the grassroots. And it seems like, even though I'm an educated man myself, it seems like sometimes you learn more in the field and you're closer connected to what's really going on in the streets. And it seems like those guys just lost their ways.
Well, the problem with folks hanging out in the classroom is that classrooms are where you learn theory. It's not where you learn practice. And these guys have been safely cocooned off in classrooms, safely shelled off and shielded away from the real world, and they've lost contact and influence with the real world as a result. Things happen out here on these streets, brother. Things happen on these streets. Things happen out here. So you see, when you got those of us who've been to the eye of the storm, Roland Martin sat up here and rolled his damn Fiat 500 clean out of town when things were jumping off right up there up the street in Baltimore. He's in D.C. and wouldn't make the 30, 45-minute trip up to Baltimore to go see what the hell's happening. Nigga, you ain't legitimate no more. You're not legitimate. He wouldn't come down the street in Charlottesville. I was there. He wasn't. He wouldn't come down the street in Charlottesville. I was there. He wasn't. In Atlanta, Tariq was there. Mark Lamont and Michael Eric weren't. In Newnan, Georgia, I got it on video. I was there. They weren't. Unite the Right 2, DC, I was there. They weren't. So you can't have this steady, consistent track record of being AWOL and convince people that your ability to pontificate about it way later is somehow legitimacy. It's not. The bottom line is all these armchair activists and armchair academics trying to tell us, well, my PhD makes me exempt. Let me tell you, brother, you getting drafted. There is no exemption from the draft. There is no exemption from this draft. You either serve or you didn't. Don't sit up here and think you're going to draft dodge and then you're going to show back up 2 or 3 weeks later, now the heat's on. Ooh, they got the folks out the streets. Well, you know, I'd like to tell you what I think of that right there. No, you got to come serve. You got to come serve.
Hey, could I ask you one more question?
Go ahead.
Is there a way at all that they could ever redeem themselves?
Yeah, they could stop
a way at all at this point.
Yeah, but it would take a lot of time. Because the fact is that they would have to outweigh what they've done. So is it possible? I suppose it is. But they would literally have to turn on all the folk they've been supporting. They'd have to get up in their faces and talk to them and push back like us. And they would have to do it for an extended period of time. In other words, they would have to turn themselves into pariahs among the very people that they've ingratiated themselves with for so long. That's what would have to happen. Exactly. And then there's going to be this long period where ain't nobody really fooling with them. And that's where you're going to find out whether this is genuine or not. You see, when you're in a situation where you're not getting any rewards, where it's all heat, now we're going to find out what you really believe. And if it's fake, you're going to go scrambling for what you really want if all you want is benefits. But if this is something you really truly believe in your heart of hearts and this is what you with and this is the hill you're literally willing to die on, then that's going to show from what you do. So that would be the only thing they could do. I just don't see it happening. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program here on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat. So Stephanie Oguin, thank you very much. I hope I got this. Stephanie O'Gwen, thank you very much for your support in the Super Chat. B1, we appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. Mr. Saunders, I see you. Keith B, Mark B, Chadwick, Najee Delsina, thank you very much for your support. Let me get caller from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on? It's Jared from Houston, Texas.
Okay, Jared from Houston, what's on your mind?
So I just wanted to ask a question because we look at Mark Lamont Hill. Now, this is a guy that's a professor in media studies and urban studies, but he's been on shows, and show after show, like the Black News Channel, they fail with him on there. Can we say that he has no merits for the profession that he teaches?
Absolutely. He is proof. He is proof and confirmation that having a degree is useless. He has spent his entire life studying this in theory, but never putting it into practice in the real world. So he has demonstrated that he doesn't have any authority on which to speak. And this is why we said we getting the academics up out of here, because the same guy who's gone to school and is a professor of media studies and has failed at media is now telling us that he also wants to advise us. A guy who's failed at media tells us he wants to advise us about how to win at politics. That's the problem. He can't succeed at what he's got a degree in, but he wants to tell us, by the way, I'm freelancing over here about politics. Y'all really need to listen to me. Dude, you don't have any wins where you are. So down here on the street, you got to understand, his degree doesn't have any weight on the street. His degree doesn't have any sway on the street because everybody's like, okay, get past that degree. What have you built? Well, I mean, you see, it could be, at that point, the streets ain't listening. And that's the way it should be. Your degree is supposed to be a prelude to your results. These are people who don't have any results. Well, why is the degree so important? Because what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to wrangle you off into an arena where results don't matter. Well, Jason, where do results not matter? Well, if they can get you on a stage at some college, then they'll bring out Michael and Mark and the rest of the Temptations and sit up here and tell you, they'll sit up here and rattle off their degrees and then sit up here and say, okay, and here's this dude from Alabama, and he's a podcast host, and that's supposed to win the debate before you even get started. You see what I mean? So that's a place where results aren't supposed to matter. Now you're academics. Now we've busted everybody down, and now you're on the same level as the academics with no results.
Yeah, and let me say this too. Like, I graduated college in 2019 with a degree in finance, and through my time there, I have never in my life heard of a professor of media studies in urban media. So that was very surprising to me to even hear that he teaches that. I was like, what the heck is that even about, man? Because that's something that doesn't seem like it exists, but apparently it does exist because he teaches it. Apparently poorly he teaches it because he can't even like replicate it in the real world because he failed so hard. So I was very surprised by him being a professor and a professor of urban media when he failed so hard at it.
No, brother.
That's all I wanted to
A
say.
school can make a curriculum for any subject you can imagine. Thank you very much for giving us a call. A school or a college can create a curriculum for any subject you can imagine. Anything. Nobody told you it was going to pay anything. There's the catch. Nobody told you it was going to pay anything, but they can create a degree program for any endeavor you can imagine. Anything from video games to bubblegum chewing. They sure can. Caller from area code 701, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Kevin Jackson calling from North Dakota, Carrington.
All right, Kevin from Carrington, what's on your mind?
You know, I'm sick of these white Jesus loving, boule, forgiving, turn the other cheek ass niggas. They're a fucking disgrace to what black empowerment is supposed to be about. They're a fucking disgrace to our ancestors. They're a fucking disgrace to Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King. Yeah, Martin Luther King was a Christian, but he stood for something. And I don't give a damn what he did. They say he did in his personal life. He gave his life for us. So like they say in the Green Mile, he good with the house now. We ain't gonna let nobody disrespect his name, disrespect his legacy. Let's see if T.D. Snakes or Klepto Dollar would do the same thing.
No, their
These
job
niggas
is to
get
sit
on my
around and
goddamn
despise
nerves.
people. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Just understand, folks, Professor Black Truth did a very good expose on that years ago. If J. Edgar Hoover had proof on Dr. King, he would have released that decades ago. This is one of those things that's intended to be something that just, it becomes an urban myth and an urban legend. And they just keep throwing it around and circulating, and it's for the purposes of being, they know it's a lie. You're dealing with government agencies who specialize in disinformation. You're dealing with government agencies that specialize in disinformation, and they have no scruples whatsoever. So they didn't have any goods on him. They didn't have any proof. So they started a rumor. I want y'all to understand that they didn't have any goods. They didn't have any proof. So they started a rumor. We don't have anything to get him on. So start a rumor. And it's a rumor that nobody is allowing themselves to be held accountable for. It's just, oh, well, you know, they say, wait a minute, who is the they? Oh, well, there's a rumor that the CIA and the FBI knew. Where's their proof? Why haven't they presented it in all these decades? If J. Edgar Hoover had it, he would have, when they had the goods on Elijah Muhammad, they put that out. Folks, when they had the goods on Elijah Muhammad, when they had it on Malcolm X, they put that out. It didn't matter what your religious beliefs were. They were like, hey, his religious beliefs is age is negotiable. So when they had the goods on these other people, they didn't hold nothing back. If you were gay, Bayard Rustin, they didn't hold nothing back. Y'all want us to believe that Dr. King was some sort of exception? They gunned the man down in cold blood. They gunned him down in cold blood. But you're telling me that J. Edgar Hoover was protecting him? Hell no. He didn't have any goods on him, so let's start a rumor. And as soon as we resurrected Malcolm X's image, they want to start a rumor on him too. No proof, no facts. Well, you know, because they know in the internet age, unfortunately, there's a bunch of mama's boys and stiff girls out here who love rumor mongering. And you have individuals who have failed to qualify in blackness, and of course, a league of non-descendants of slaves who are sitting up here and everything's a game and a joke to them to destabilize us. So they know that they have a potent rumor mill that they've been able to employ for the purposes of circulating rumors with nobody asking the question, wait a minute, where's your proof? Proof or it didn't happen. And everybody loves to sound like they found some secret knowledge that nobody else has. But the reality is, when you think about it, this sounds like a CIA psyop. You got a rumor, but no proof. And there's never been any. It's just, well, there was a rumor. Okay, where's your proof? Y'all sure did throw it out there for Elijah Muhammad. Where's the proof? Well, it's in some, we lost it in some files somewhere. The files are at Trump's house or Biden's house. Which files? The ones at Trump's house or the ones at Biden's house? Call from Mary Code 708. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Cameron from Roberts, Illinois.
Okay, Cameron sounds like he has something in his mouth, brother. Do you need to call us back later?
Yeah, another time.
Okay. Cameron sounds like he has a mouthful of Jolly Ranchers, so call us back when you get done with In-N-Out Burger. Call from area code 248. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Andrea from Detroit.
Andrea from Detroit. What's on your mind?
Sorry, it sounds like I don't know if that's my phone or Blog Talk, but it's kind of breaking up. But I was calling because I spoke to Rashida Tlaib. She's our U.S. representative about, when she was running this past year. She had a fundraiser or some sort of event about 2 blocks down from me. So I went ahead and went, and I asked her, about reparations, of course. And I asked her specifically about an anti-Black crime bill, hate crime bill. Because I was like, the Asians got it, everything we've always been saying. And basically this, I don't want to say B word, but basically was like, well, just keep praying on it. Basically, I don't need you because I have enough Black support. And I just want to know, is there a way that I can shift her Black support so that they can see what she truly is, which is not for the people? Well, not for Black people, at least, in a city of which is 80% Black.
Well, like I say, this is all the more reason why I was saying to the brother there that, Jason, how can we do more than just financially support? Everybody's got to be able to do their part of it. When these folks look up and they see billboards and they have people talking, and even in the internet space, eventually it's going to be important to have individuals talking in the cities that they're in. I'm not from a major metropolitan area, but we don't really have anybody who is. You got Tariq, but as far as the major cities and things like that, for those of you, if these are things you're concerned about, like I say, you got to deal with it by hand, and it's going to be a long-term work. It's going to be a long-term work. It's not something you can just do in 6 months. You can't just put up 2 tweets and change a political persuasion. It's not the way it works. So if this is what you're serious about, then you are going to have to deal with it on all levels. Now, she's got a communication apparatus in place. How about yours?
Yeah, I certainly don't have that at all. I'm just so angry that I want to create one.
Right, and that's what they are counting on. They're counting on... See, here's the problem with getting angry, okay? The problem with getting angry is that that's what they count on, because that's called venting. Nobody can get angry and stay at the same level of anger. You would either stroke out or go to sleep. But nobody does that. So what they're looking for is that eventually you're going to get angry and then it burns itself out and then you go back to work or whatever again and it subsides. What they're looking for is whether or not you're going to become strategic. You don't have to be the most articulate person. I tell people this all the time. I've been hearing about my voice since roughly about the age of 12 or 13. That's great. That's wonderful. That's nice. You don't have to have my voice to have a voice. The folks out here screwing things up don't have a voice like mine. The folks out here screwing every damn thing up don't have a voice like mine. So what I'm saying is I said this over a decade ago, you don't have to wait for Jason Black. You don't have to wait for any of us. If you are serious about this and you're about that life, then you pick up your sword and your shield and you get to work on it. But just understand, they've got their media apparatus. They've got their ability to communicate. They got theirs. They're counting on you not having one, because there's the real difference. She's already communicated to the people she's talking to. You got to have a way to communicate to them too. Otherwise, what are you saying?
Yeah.
So you have my free permission to replicate what we've done. We need as much of this.
Okay.
We need as many people as possible. You don't have to ask for a permission slip. You might figure out a way to do it better than we did. Like I say, here at the Black Channel and things, we started that years ago with Sheena Howard and other folk out there, and then Cut the Check is a hashtag a decade later. We were an overnight success. It only took us 10 years. But then you got folk like, Nicole's View. She's another one. She's not near the magnitude of the rest of us as far as, followers or whatever. But that woman single-handedly made Bill Cosby her cause celebrity. Single-handedly she did. Single-handedly. She didn't wait for a permission slip. She didn't wait for any of us to give her confirmation or whatever. She dug in and did that on her own. I mean, she was the little engine that could. And when it was over, when the man got let out, she was the first place folk were looking to. So what I'm saying is, folks don't really have an excuse in that regard. If you really do want to be a force to be reckoned with, you got options. But you're going to have to prove that this isn't just you being irate on a random Saturday. You're going to have to prove that this is something you are 10 toes down and you're all the way about. This is not something you're going to fix with a tweet, 1 or 2 tweets, and then the election's over. It took decades to create this. This is going to have to be a steady drumbeat. And you're going to have to look past the individuals you currently see. Now, that's another thing. You're going to have to be disciplined. Politicians come and go. The agenda of white supremacy remains the same. Keisha Bottom B is no longer the mayor of Atlanta. The agenda is still in place. Andrew Cuomo is no longer the governor of New York. The agenda is still in place. Lori Lightfoot, whether she wins or loses the election here in the spring, hopefully loses on her ass. No matter who takes office next, we got to deal with them. Remember, Anita Alvarez was the district attorney in Cook County. She gets out the way. Here comes Kim Foxx. Now be damned if the beat don't go on, but we were already on her ass before she came into office, so we were able to put the lashes on her coming in the door. So that's what I'm saying. You might get motivated by one politician, but you cannot stay fixated on it. Because that agenda tends to be very, very sticky sticking around. So even if you were to remove her from office tomorrow, you do realize the machine would simply try to grab somebody who the same to replace her with. So you have to concentrate your firepower on the machine, not a person.
It just seems so hopeless because, Duggan is corrupt. You can see it from a mile away. He's done the same thing Kwame did, but he didn't get RICO charges on him. We have Kim Worthy, who's not worth the paper she's printed on, and, a police force that's 50% white in a city that's 80% black.
Yes, but
neighborhoods.
All right, what you're doing is you're whining. Respectfully.
Okay.
What you're doing is whining because what you're doing is running down a laundry list of the things you don't like. And they're self-evident. After you finish that laundry list of things, and I'm in Louisiana, and I know all this you just said. Hell, my first documentary, 7 a.m., talked about going from Kwame Kilpatrick to Duggan. And there have been some changes under Duggan, but ultimately they're intended to improve white folks' lot. I did more in Detroit than the folk who lived there did. I put up billboards that said Detroit is being gentrified. Detroit, you are the front line. Race war. I did that in Detroit. Y'all saw I got interviews with radio stations after I did that. I had to come from Louisiana to put in the work because they didn't have competent operatives in Detroit to do that. A bunch of complaining isn't really the thing. If there's a message that ain't getting out, y'all got to get organized for a message. And that's the kind of thing that frustrates folk like me is that, wait a minute, why do I got to parachute in from Louisiana to call out Andrew Cuomo? Why do I have to parachute in from Louisiana to call out Mike Duggan when the folk who live there How is it that I'm so supernatural that I was able to do that? The folk who lived there weren't doing that. So what I'm saying is, if you want to take control of a conversation, you can. I've done talked to the folks up there at those radio stations in Detroit and Chicago and the rest of them. It's in my archive on YouTube. I talked to them. And what I'm telling you is these are not academic scholars. They really aren't. Yes, I was on 9:10 a.m. These are not scholars in that way. It doesn't take a whole lot to become a competent operative, but you've got to stop just running down the list of things that are wrong, because that's called venting. After we finish running down the list, what we gonna do? Well, right now our voices are not being heard. Understood. What can we do to get our voices heard? What can we do? Do we need to buy a billboard? Do we need to buy radio time? Do we need to start a internet broadcast of our own? Turn that spare bedroom you got into a studio so you can start talking about these things? Do you need to go places and start running into politicians and record yourself? Because like you're saying, you talked to that woman. Did you record it?
No, I didn't, like I should have.
There you go. Jason, you're being rude because you're telling her that she's venting. This is a teaching moment. I don't have hours and hours to talk to you all. I got to get right to the point. This is a teaching moment. Understand something. There's a reason why Marcel and other people were relevant, because when they confronted these people, they recorded it and gave us something that we could take to the masses. You see, that's counter-programming. Not just commenting on it, but you bring in facts that you're not because all you're telling us is take my word for it. This is what the woman said. And she can come right back and say, no, I didn't say that. She's misremembering it. When we confronted James Clyburn, we brought you all evidence. Why are y'all over here effing with me? We brought you evidence. And all he could say was HR 40. We brought the goods. And that's what we started beating them with. And now he doesn't want to run for office anymore. That's what we started beating them with. Same thing with all the rest of them there. So that's what I'm saying. We didn't wait for somebody to bring something to us. So if you're going to go to war, you got to be war ready. If you're going to encounter politicians, you have to encounter them, not sitting up here saying, well, can I meet them? You got to have an agenda in place. Hey, I'm coming to them to get intel that I'm going to bring back so I can disseminate. That's what we need. If you wish to be a competent operative, if you're going to go meet these people, if you really want to change something, then start becoming a competent operative. And whatever they're saying or doing, you get in there. Come back with the goods so you can put it online. You can disseminate it to other people. That's how you change the message. That's how you want to win a communication war? Start recording what the hell was said. We got cell phones that can record anything everywhere, and there's no reason for a politician to say anything that's off code that isn't getting caught. There's no reason for it. So if you want to know what you can do, start there. Start there.
Okay.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. And no, I want to make sure this sticks in her head there. Don't focus on venting, because venting comes and goes. If you really want to change things, you got to be able to get the goods. You have to be able to record that. When I did my documentaries, I went to the places. I showed you what was happening in Noonan, Georgia. I showed you, I'll be damned, it looked like Baghdad. They had so many Bearcats and armored vehicles sitting around. Looked like downtown Fallujah at the height of the insurrection. When I went to Unite the Right 2, I brought you all back videos showing you. It was about half a dozen of them showed up. 1,000 police officers and only half a dozen white supremacists and white supremacist sympathizers. And I brought you back the goods. I brought back the goods. That's my point. So if you want to combat somebody who is giving out phony, false communication, you got to have a counter to it. The rest of you don't have to speak the way I do. Hell, being able to get footage is worth 10 broadcasts from me. Because your footage might be so good that you wind up getting us commenting about it. And I attribute people. I don't sit up here and use folks' videos and use people's pictures and don't attribute it. If I use it, if I know who it was, if I can attribute it to somebody, I'm going to say who it was. I'm going to say who it was. And if you get a track record for being able to do that kind of thing, that's how you earn your bones. That's also how you change a national conversation. Caller from area code 817. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, sir. My name is Kendall. I'm calling from Houston.
All right, Kendall from Houston. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. First, I just want to say it's my first time calling, but I do appreciate everything you've done, and I appreciate your message. But I was like one of the calls that called earlier. He was a little bit upset about how they were just, talking about the new black media. But eventually I did realize, like, they're taking L's. Like, they are understanding. They're mentioning you guys because they know they can't do anything about it because they've been full of BS this whole time. So it's good to see that you normally say that the corporate structures don't acknowledge that when you're winning, but they are acknowledging that you're winning. So that's always just good to hear.
Well, they don't acknowledge when you're winning, but they damn sure perk up when they're losing. They're okay if both of us are losing, but they're okay if they're winning and we're losing. But if they realize they're losing, it's like, oh, wait a minute now. Oh, no. So, yeah, they've tried a decade of trying to ignore our existence. And I told you all then, I'm glad they're ignoring it. Because we were doing, in many ways, we can move like we need to move when they're not doing that. What they're letting us know now is that they're going to try to start making it, more focused, that they recognize and realize exactly who it is, but they don't really know how to hit back. That's the problem. They don't really know how to hit back because the problem is all they have are individuals who have no street credibility. Michael Eric Dyson has no street credibility. Mark Lamont Hill has no street cred. So they need somebody who can go at us, but they don't have anybody who's got real street cred. That's where they're failing. You can give Van Jones $100 billion. $100 billion cannot buy credibility. And they're finding out the hard way. They just have a stable of useless operatives. That's a hell of a bad position to be in when you need to be able to rally the troops, and your troops are the damn me Keystone Cops. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 843. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Jason. How are you?
What is your name? Where you calling from?
My name, this is Marcel, Great Marcel Dixon, calling from Ridgeland, South
Oh, okay,
Carolina.
Marcel. I didn't recognize your voice on the phone, brother. What's on your mind?
That's okay. I'm going to be very quick.
843 area code, too, as a matter of fact. I didn't recognize the area code either. I'm thinking, wait a minute, where's that coming from? All right, enough about me. What's on your
I
mind?
sometimes call from a Savannah, Georgia number, but this is my South Carolina number. And I wanted to speak because the lady that was on, what she said resonated with me. I felt that same frustration and anger, but I want to let our people know it's good for us to practice group economics. It's good for us to get involved in media and call people out and organize. But the best thing we need to do is run for office. They bank on us being politically apathetic. They know what we don't seem to really realize yet, that every group has gotten wealth and protection from being in power and having access to power. We are the only group that does not have any quality representation. We may have black faces in office, but they're not giving us representation. So we need to run for office and give ourselves good representation and good policy. So if we're really feeling frustrated and disillusioned and angry, we need to channel that to something positive, like running for office. Even if we lose, we push the issue and make the issue one that is pushed to the forefront, and they have to address it. And I land there.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I think there is one thing more important than running for office. I think there's one thing more important than running for office, and that is making sure that everybody's on code. How do we elect operatives and politicians who represent our interests if we haven't gotten enough? Because you're not going to get everybody. You don't need everybody. But if you haven't gotten a critical mass of people on code for what the agenda is, If you don't get that part done, then the election is meaningless. So I would tell you I was telling her about having communication and talking to each other, because there's grassroots issues. Look, I've only been to Detroit in the last 5 years. I've only been about 5 or 6 times. I come through when I can come through. I don't like dealing with snow. All my vehicles are 4-wheel drive, and I don't like dealing with snow. I'm from Louisiana. It is what it is. So, like I say, when I was coming through there before, they were closing up Joe Louis Arena. They were opening up the new one with the Little Caesars pizza people. They were building that big complex downtown. So they had finished the arena to replace Joe Louis, but they were also building the other one there. And you've seen it in my film, so you've seen they had the gate around and stuff. I'm pretty sure all that's done by now. It's been years. They better be done. So, but like I say, I don't live in Detroit. So I can talk about Grosse Pointe, and I can talk about Dearborn, and I can talk about that. But the folks on the ground there, that's the conversation that really needs to happen. You have people on the radio, but in many cases, as you saw when I was on the radio there, in many cases, some of them are on the same side with the damn politicians y'all are against. Remember, there was the one fella there who's like, he's pretty much talking about, hey, we need to gentrify things. So I'm just saying that's a street issue. And yes, Jason Black can come in with the stealth bomber and throw some bombs down on a random Saturday. But what really changes things is when there's a steady drum beat that deals with this on the ground every week. That's what really changes things. Because people are tired of the political puppets who don't represent our interests, but what you really need is folk who can sit there and have a conversation in each of these areas about what the interests are. So that when you do go to the polling place, you can now identify the people who actually promote and protect your interests. But you gotta get enough people together and on code for that first. Then from there, you can march. Absolutely. Caller from area code 724. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mr. Black. This is Rico. I'm calling from Pittsburgh.
All right, Rico from Pittsburgh. What's on your
mind?
mind?
Real quick, I'm gonna say something that might not be that popular. I've been thinking about this reparation thing for a long time. Who are we to put a price on all the barbarities and atrocities that were put on our ancestors?
The folk who we're the descendants of the people who suffered it. So that's us. We have the right and the authority.
But how do we decide that number? And what number is going to be good enough? You going to be like, they gave you $500,000. We're going to be like, it's okay. Everything's cool now.
No, we never said that. We never said that.
And it seems like we're starting to act like that's the be all end all.
No, sir.
No,
it's not.
Thanks for listening.
No, it's not. And we never said it was the end all be all. But what we're saying is that you can't get anything done without it. We didn't say that it's.
I agree with that.
We did not say it's the only thing. So for anybody,
I didn't say you said that, but a lot of people are starting to act like that. That's the end goal.
Well, that might be the way. That might be the way that you're perceiving it. But the bottom line is, we're not saying that that's it. However, it's just like saying, well, reparations, a cash payment's not everything. Well, then again, food and water's not everything either. So,
I'm not disputing the importance of cash, but right. What would that be?
Well,
who decides?
Okay,
more importantly, that's more important.
Listen very carefully what I'm going to say next. What it is. This is the crux of everything. What it is a good start. That's what it is.
Copy. I hear you. Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. It is a good start. It gives you a place to start from. Let me tell you all something. Think about this for just a few moments. Think about this. Can you imagine what the conversation is going to be like in every state when this happens? Can you imagine how the conversation in those states are going to turn on a dime? Literally. Nobody's going to be talking about religion, politics, or nothing else. They are going to be talking about our experience and our identity as the descendants of slaves who built this country in America and where we're supposed to be at and why we're not there. Just understand, just even if you start that legislation, that's going to start that starts a tsunami of a discussion. That alone is going to be tremendous. Even for the people who attempt to dispute it and try to fight against it, just getting that started starts a tsunami of a discussion. Where you start talking about these things from 720 degrees, folks are going to start digging up records to try to exonerate themselves. Because we will not just stop with the state, we will also look at the individual institutions. And it's going to be a whole bunch of institutions that are going to attempt to cover it up. And you see, then we get to talk about places like Wilmington. You get to start talking about Wilmington, North Carolina, and what happened there. Then you get to talk about Rosewood. You get to start talking about what happened there. Folks going to start to try to dig up records to try to exonerate themselves, try to say, wait a minute, it didn't happen like that. We've been trying to get those records for dozens and dozens of years. That's how you imagine the conversation that's going to be set off, and it's going to sweep everything else off the page. Think about that for a few moments. It's going to be a scramble. For people trying to prove they qualify, for people trying to prove they shouldn't pay, for people trying to prove that they should hold on to what they got. Think about that for a few moments. This goes beyond just cutting the check. This changes a statewide or international dialogue. It changes everything. All of a sudden, that becomes the agenda because a whole bunch of folks are going to be like, wait a minute now, we shouldn't have to pay. And now this is the struggle. This is what the hell we need. So just think about it from that standpoint alone. Just starting the ball rolling at this is going to have all kinds of repercussions. Your TV stations, your radio stations, your cable news outlets, your bloggers. Think about that for a moment. They start cutting checks in California. Tim Cook, Joe Rogan, remember he used to live there? We can go down the damn list. Everybody and their mama is going to be talking about that. Boom! Move over to New York City. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Biggest media market in America. Channel 2, Channel 7, WABC, go down the list. It sweeps everything else off the board. That becomes the conversation. What I'm telling you about is just the tsunami of conversation about that alone and sussing this out and talking about how Facebook and Google and Twitter and the rest of them need to pay their high-tech reparations because this is not simply about a cash check for the things they want to document. All these other folks here who've been benefiting off of penalizing the descendants of slaves. Oh no, all of y'all got to cut yours too. You got to cut yours too. Then that starts a different discussion. That starts a different discussion. So I just want you all to understand this is a whole lot bigger than just saying you want reparations. This starts a communication echo chamber. And I'm telling you, it's an echo chamber that is going to reverberate so loudly and so strongly that it's going to shake the foundations of the world. Just that discussion about what's happened to us, because for the better part of the last century, your communication apparatus has focused on the Jewish Holocaust. And then it talks about us as a secondary thing. I do not fault Jewish people for putting a spotlight on what happened to them. They're supposed to do that. But we're supposed to put a spotlight on what happened to us because we built the country that they could flee to. And because of our work, they couldn't be penalized here despite Henry Ford and other people who were the titans of their day. But because of our work and our blood and our enslavement and our fighting for freedom, they had a place to come to Those who weren't slave owners already, those who were fleeing oppression, found a country that protected people who were fleeing oppression because it didn't exist before we came out of chains. It didn't exist. You had American Nazis just like you had German Nazis. It didn't exist. And we've never gotten the protections that we have helped to afford to other people. So yes, the spotlight needs to be on us. Time to put that spotlight on us. Time for us to go through all the records. Talk about the Highway and the Freeway Acts. Time to go through all those. Yeah, you can start making your TV shows, your documentaries, your movies, your miniseries, your cable TV specials. Hell yeah, it's time to go ahead and start evening that out and balancing that out to let folk know it wasn't just chattel slavery. There wasn't just one Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. There wasn't just one incident. It wasn't just a couple of years of lynching. It wasn't just one or two black neighborhoods that got run over by the freeways. The freeways were systematically plotted out for the purposes of destroying black neighborhoods. Systematically. The Levittown agendas. That destroying the wealth of the descendants of the slaves was and is American fiscal policy. We need to go through all the records so we can go ahead and dig that up. Yes, let's kick off that conversation. So don't look at this one-dimensionally. I know you all have never thought of it like that before. Don't look at this one-dimensionally. This is not one-dimensional. This is not one-dimensional. This is a four-dimensional architecture. It doesn't just occupy 3 dimensions, it occupies time and space. Wrapped up into one occurring in our present dynamic, the past is the present. So recognize when I say reparations across the board, now you understand what I'm saying and what I mean. And if you get this ball rolling, it starts a conversation that nobody can ignore. It becomes the agenda. You know why? Because then they're going to say, well, could it happen here? We're in Alabama. Could it happen here? Damn right it can, and it will. University of Alabama, you become $1 billion+ institution on the backs of young black men who were physically bred to be superior specimens. Nick Saban is rich, and these young men have to take a vow of poverty. So the administrators and Nick Saban get to be filthy damn rich, but the young men who are still slaving for them have to take a vow of poverty. Yeah, we need to discuss reparations. You're not doing this to them because they're black. You're doing this because they're the descendants of the slaves. You're doing that because of their lineage to maintain the status quo. Yes, blackness is a given, but that's not our argument. Our argument is our lineage. We understand the racial reasons for it. I'm saying our argument is our lineage. You targeted a specific lineage for exploitation. Well, we could have brought over other immigrants for that. Well, you didn't. But you didn't. But you didn't. So we gonna start here. Caller from area code 602. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Jason. My name's Craig. I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona. I just wanted to, in regard to reparations, share one of the most profound works that I've come across. It's called From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century by Dr. William Darity and Christian Mullen. And I think that your audience would gain a lot of benefit if they read that book.
Well, definitely what they need to do here is beyond just reading books, because I seen an interview with Umar, and he was propping up in Cobra, and I gotta tell y'all, because Darity was running around with with square mouth and mush mouth and square jaw. And thank you very much for giving us a call. It sounds like he's clearing out his attic. Like I say, Darity was running around with them, and he didn't like some of the things that I had to say in particular. So whether or not he's turned over a new leaf since then, you got some convincing to do for me. You have some convincing to do for me, because Darity was running around with square jaw and mush mouth. Now, I'm not certain that he's still mobbed up with them, but there's going to be some convincing that would have to be done there for me. You need more people. I had to be convinced. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Bringing these old people into the room, bringing these old dudes into the room, and it's going to take a lot of convincing to get me to I'm not going to just let any old person into the room. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not looking for a way to open up the door to bring in the old folk. I'm not doing it. Caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Big Brother Jason Black. This is Brother Elijah calling out of Brooklyn, New York.
All right, Elijah out of Brooklyn. What's on your mind?
Big Brother, I got two statements, and I got a serious question in regards to reparations, Big Brother. All right, the first statement, Mark Lamont, you big dummy Hill, should not be speaking for us. He is a non-SBA anchor baby. He's Jamaican and Croatian. Not my words, those are his words. All right? Also, I don't even consider Michael Eric Dumbass a peer of yours. All right? He is fell before he even got there. All right? He's always been saying some stupid stuff. All right? My question now is this. Will there be a serious backlash when we get reparations? That's my question, Big Brother.
A backlash that looks any different from the backlash we're getting now?
Yes, sir.
No, it will not. I mean, it will be just another day in America. It'll be just another day. Yo, we're getting backlash now. We've been getting it. It will be it will be business as usual. It'll be business as usual. Now, what you will have is a more contentious conversation. You will have white supremacists mobilized. You will have a bunch of other folks squadding up, mostly against us. But I submit to you, how is that different from any other day? You had, white folk will take to the streets. They took to the streets in Charlottesville. They took to the streets in Wisconsin, where Rittenhouse. How is that different from any other day? We got to go from a position of saying, is folks going to come at us, to a position of come with it. Come out with it or don't come out. We have to come at things from that position. We gotta.
Yes, sir.
Brother Amos Wilson used to talk about that when he said, we can't be sitting around worrying about that. We have to be looking at things from a position of understanding that there's gonna be a backlash, no matter what. That we live in a culture of backlash. So we're not sitting around trying to identify the next source or whatever. You got to keep your head on swivel, and you have to assume you are in a culture of backlash. Be prepared.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, and Big Brother, just to add to this, what I was gonna say, Stephen Hornsford, he is Trinidadian because Professor Black Truth covered that in his immigrant Black Caucus. All right, he covered that 3 years ago, so he is Trinidadian, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna land my plane there. B1.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, don't run around worrying about who doesn't like you. Nobody likes you. Don't sit around worrying about who's got an axe to grind. Everybody got an axe to grind. Assume that everybody got one because they do. Now that you understand this, you can move accordingly. But no, you can't slack off. You can't take it easy. You can't assume anything. Assume that everybody has got something for you. Assume it. Assume it. Period. Now you know. Now you know how you need to move. Stop sitting up here asking if it's going to happen. Your job, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Be ready. It is what it is. It is what it is. Just assume that's going to be the case. Assume that. Let me tell y'all something right now. I'm of a mind that anywhere I go in this country, I got my eyes and my ears open. I got my eyes and my ears open. Let me tell y'all something. Are y'all like me? Are you like me? Shout out to Andrea Roberson in the super chat. Appreciate you, babe. Are you like me? When I go to the gas station, dude, when I walk up to the pump, I choose a pump that's on the outside. I choose one that's not near a car. I'm telling you what the deal is. When I go to the gas station, I choose a pump that's on the outside. I choose one that's not near a bunch of other cars. So ain't nobody behind me. I can look to the left, I can look to the right, and I can see who's on the other side of the pumps in front of me. Baby, that's the way I fill up my gas tank. That's the way I fill up my gas tank all day, every day. When I travel across this country, love me a Flying J's or a Bucky, you got a bunch of pumps. I'm that big black thing with the big chrome grill and the big chrome wheels on the outside pump you saw. That's me. That's me out there. When I go to a restaurant, I'm going to tell y'all exactly how I move. I'm like damn me, Billy the Kid and Wyatt Earp and whoever else. Baby, when they ask me, would you like a table or a booth? A booth, please. I can get you one right here. Nah, baby, put me back there. Don't put me up here near the front. Put me back there. I don't want anything behind me. People, do you want me to be honest about the way I move? I'll be honest with you about the way I move. Don't put me in it. I got my eyes and my ears open. Folks was sitting in the damn Waffle House in Antioch, Tennessee, and the gunman came in. They sitting at a church in Charleston, South Carolina, and the gunman came in. They sitting at a Kroger's in Texas, and the gunman came in. It is what it is. Right, Queen Sugar, like Jesse James. It is what it is. I need to see everything that's going on. I need to see everything that's going on. Don't sit me on no table by the front damn door. I need room. I need room. Ain't gonna tell you what I need room for. All I'm telling you is the restaurant, I brought the candy. I need room. If it's about to jump off, I need room. I'm watching everybody coming in. Men, women, little old ladies. You never know when it's going down. Don't put me by no window. Don't put me by your window. You go to some place like Olive Garden, Red Lobster, some place like that, they got them low-ass windows, perfectly suited for somebody to drive a damn car through it. Don't put me by no window. Don't put me by a window. Can't do it. Not unless the parking lot is already full. And even then, I'm watching. All right, they walking out to their car. Let's see if they get in their car and leave and nothing else. No, they ain't got to bring me them little chocolate mints. I'm like, I already brought my chocolate. I already brought mine. It is what it is. Y'all really want to hear how Jason Black travels the country? Won't talk about internationally. You want to hear about how I travel the country? That's how I get down. Anywhere and everywhere. I'm watching where I'm at 24/7. I'm not saying that makes me invincible. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is I try to do my due diligence. I go everywhere with that expectation. When police cars get behind me, first thing I think is, here we go. Here we go. Let me see what's going on. Because I know I ain't speeding. I told y'all about, do you realize I've only been pulled over maybe once in my life for allegedly speeding. The other 10 times had no speeding. I'm like, oh, what the hell am I getting pulled over for? We thought we saw you go off the road a little bit. Really? Oh, you're in the inside lane for too long. Really? So every time I turn around, you got to keep your head up, eyeballs open. Assume that somebody out there thinks this is their moment. Assume that somebody out there thinks this is their moment, that they caught you off guard, they caught you slipping. Assume that that's the moment. No, there's going to be distance between me and anybody else. If you come at me, you're going to have to take a few steps to get there. You ain't going to be sitting right next to me. No, back on up. I don't talk to anybody. I don't make no conversation. If I'm someplace and they start conversation, let me go ahead and take 2-3 steps over. That's it. If you stay in that position, let me tell y'all something. America's Most Wanted. I remember it was a white man on America's Most Wanted. He killed his wife or whatever. They had been chasing him for like 15, 20 years. Had never been able to catch him. Finally, he had gone off somewhere. He made a whole new life with this woman. Folks, he put liquid Band-Aids on his fingers. His wife knew this. She'd been married. His new wife knew this. She'd been married to him for years. He put liquid Band-Aids on his fingers and he didn't throw out any garbage. He demanded to burn all the garbage. He did that for years and years and years. Liquid Band-Aids on his fingers, if y'all remember what that was, and he would not throw away any garbage. He demanded to burn all their garbage. He wouldn't go out to eat because he was always concerned about fingerprints and DNA. He was, I think he worked for some company delivering papers or something like that at one point, but he was always concerned. I might be mixing up because he wasn't the only one. I actually might be conflating them because he wasn't the only one. But the one I'm talking about, he put liquid Band-Aids on his fingers and was demanding to burn the garbage. And she knew this for years and years, and then finally dropped a tip about it. And when the police were on to him, they were like, it took us forever. It took us forever to be able to confirm who he was because he would throw away everything. No, he wouldn't throw away anything. If he went and bought something, if he got a can cigarette, he never threw out his cigarettes. He had made it his routine that you throw away nothing, you burn everything. I ain't telling you to become a fugitive, but what I am telling you is that vigilance is the only reason he was free for how many decades he was. I'm just saying that type of vigilance can serve the law-abiding community the way it serves the law-breaking community. Just saying. Just saying. Folks, when I go somewhere, I'm assuming maybe it's because I'm from Louisiana. Some of y'all from California and Florida, some of these vacation states, y'all want to sit here and get laid back. Let me tell you something. Y'all folks from Central and South Florida, y'all better start kicking it with the niggas from Northern Florida. Y'all can call that Southern Alabama if you want to. Tallahassee, stand up. Jacksonville, stand up. You can tell the difference between the neighborhoods and the cars when you get up there. Some of y'all niggas down there in the vacation parts, y'all better start kicking it with the folks up there in the Panhandle and in them real parts, the ones who are nearer them Southern Confederate states. You better start kicking it with them. Y'all sitting up here trying to figure out how to get laid back and get to the beach and take it easy and whatnot. The rest of them folks is ready. The rest of them folks is ready. In Orlando, I guess if you ain't near Disney, I guess if you ain't kicking it near Disney, I guess okay. I guess if you ain't near Disney. Man, look here. Better be ready. Better be ready. California, y'all better start looking at either southern LA or Oakland, the real parts that's left, the real parts of Oakland that's left, and then gentrified the rest of it. They done gentrified the rest of it. Keep your eyes and your ears open. It's not rocket science. And see, that's stressful. I understand that. That's stressful. That's hella stress on you. That's why we got post-traumatic slave disorder. It's stressful. It's stressful to be in an environment where you're constantly under the gun. It is what it is. It is what it is. What you want me to tell you? To lie to you? It is what it is. You in occupied territory. You got to move like you're in occupied territory. You have no human rights. You got to move like you understand you have no human rights. Keep your eyes and your ears open. I remember the first time I bought my last vehicle, boy, I never had so many folk walk up to me talking about, that sure is a nice truck. I'm like, I know it is. Random white folk, that sure is a nice truck. That's great and everything. That's cool. Never got that much attention before. And you hope everybody's going to mind their manners. But just in case you got a Dylan Roof who runs up, or Peyton Gendron, hey, I thought we built systems in place to snare you. You don't look like a professional athlete or a rapper. How'd you buy that thing? How'd you buy that? So I'm just saying, stay ready. Just assume it and stay ready. Stop trying to walk off the field. The game ain't over. Stay ready. And teach your kids to stay ready. You stay ready and you teach your kids to stay ready. That's what you do. Anywhere and everywhere. How many of y'all are like me? If you're like me, give me the hand up emoji in the chat room. If y'all are like me and that's the way you get down when you go to the restaurant, it's back to the booth. Sitting in the back of the restaurant, back to the booth. When you go to the gas station, left, right, other side of the pump. If you like me, give me the hand up emoji in the chat room. Or maybe it's just me. I might be by myself. Might be by myself. I might be the only one. When you get to the checkout line at Whole Foods or Kroger's or whatever, I don't like going if there's a long line of people. Let me tell y'all, I'm that nigga. I'll sit up here and circle the whole damn store 2 or 3 times until that line whittles down. When I go through the checkout thing, Walmart or something, I want to make sure I can go straight to the cash, straight to the self-checkout, put my things through and go. I'm not going to sit here in line with a bunch of people in front of me and a bunch of people behind me, and here comes the damn gunman. Now you got me stuck between these damn pallets of cheese puffs and grandma's buggy over here. Hell no. Hell no. No. I'm going in like, wait a minute, how could this go wrong? I'm not going to get boxed in anywhere. I'm not going to get boxed in anywhere. Not going to do it. If the situation don't look right, I don't sit there and just, well, I hope it be okay. Man, I'm not getting boxed in nowhere. Not at all. And that can be a stressful damn way to live. That can be stressful to live. It can also be stressful to die. Look, here's the way I see it. If they get me, they gonna have to work for it. If they get me, they gonna have to work to get that. They gonna be like, man, nigga, you made it hard on us. Boy, we've been chasing you around for a minute. The damn gas station, you kept swerving us there. At the restaurant, we thought we had you one time. You kept swerving it there. Man, especially the checkout, boy. We thought we boxed you in. You broke out the line. And, boy, I'm telling you, you had us running around for a minute. We've been chasing you for years trying to get you boxed in. It is what it is. By the way, all my girlfriends, all my nieces, all my nephews, they get indoctrinated the same way. And folks sometimes will talk crazy and be like, oh, you paranoid, right up until something happens. Right up until the police pull us over and didn't give us a ticket. Right up until they pulled us out of the line at the airport and didn't find anything. Everybody calls you paranoid right up until that happens. And then they can't explain to you why it occurred. Something crazy just happened, but nobody can explain to you why it just happened. Something that they never had happen to them before, all of a sudden it just occurred. And I'm telling them, I live like this. I live like this. Folks, I told y'all I don't like going to airports because I get pulled out of line every single time. I told y'all one time I was coming through Baltimore. I gave the man my driver's license. It was a black male, as a matter of fact, old black man at TSA. He did some, I was watching because I always study what they do with the other people. And he, with the other folk, they gave him his driver's license. He took a look on his screen and then waved him on. I walk up, I hand him my driver's license. Y'all, it took him about 20, 25 seconds. He holds my driver's license up in front of his screen. I can't see his screen because this guy's back to me. He looks at my license. He looks at the screen. He looks up at me. He then looks back down at his screen, looks up at me again, looks at my license, looks at the screen, looks up at me again. I'm like, nigga, is your eyes going out of focus? How many times you got to look at me and the license in that damn screen? I wanted to jump across the thing and say, let me turn this bastard around and take a look at what the hell you looking at. Do you see Gary Coleman on this screen or something? Does it look like Jaleel White? How many times do you need to look at it? And I know you ain't got a picture of my damn driver's license. I know that ain't happening. So what the hell are you looking at on that screen? My name's not misprinted. What the hell are you seeing? Finally, he gives me my damn license and I can go through, and the whole crew was with me talking about, Jason, what was that about? I'm like, nigga, it's another day in the life. That's another day in the life. That's it. Thank you, Dwayne. There's only one person on the license. It wasn't like it was 2 or 3 of us. He had to figure out which one it was. It wasn't like it was multiple choice. Like, nigga, do you need a new prescription? No. He's like, you that dude. He sees something on his screen that is telling him, oh yeah, by the way, if this nigga shows up to get on a plane, and then after I went past him, they made me get out of line when you go through the metal detectors. So yeah, that he's looking on the screen like, yeah, if this nigga shows up, all hands on deck. Yeah, if this nigga shows up, he got one of those notices. If this nigga shows up. He might miss the flight, but just in case he does show up, by the way, dot all your I's and cross all your T's. So people, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not living in a different world than you. I'm walking the same damn streets as you. I'm not walking in a different America. I'm in the same damn one you in. I'm in the same one you in. And if you want to know how I move, that's how I do it. That's how I do it. I'm not asking or requiring anything of you that I'm not living under. I'm behind enemy lines. I'm in occupied territory. I'm behind enemy lines. I don't know what to tell you. By the way, if Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Eric Dyson were talking like this, maybe they'd still have their credibility intact. Maybe. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent black thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time we're here. And if you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. We'll be here tomorrow night. Same black time, same black channel. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.